Okay, I'm going to keep it short, so that we have at least some room for discussion. I would like to thank you for inviting me to put simulation and modeling into the discussion of tools and toys. But I'm going to put another edge to it, and I'm going to ask, should we simulate at all? But I'm going into the tool or toy as well. First of all, my background is computer programming. As such, I played a lot of games, but my level is Doom, for those of you who are into prehistory of games. Some of you might know it. I had to install my own network for that, though, so that makes it a little bit worthwhile. I'm going to tell you a little bit about modeling and simulation, and I'm going to introduce these topics very shortly, very briefly, and then head further. But first of all, I'm going to present my conclusion of this talk, so that you can ponder about it while I'm talking. I'm going to present you also HomininSpace, the space that we saw in the previous lecture will come back here in a virtual world. Not as much as a game, I hope, but I'm still going to mention it as a HomininSpace, where you can study behavior, but I'm going to detail that. That's my research. And I'm going to discuss a little bit about simulation and archaeology. First of all, simulation is too easy. That is my conclusion, which I'm going to present in this talk. You can think about what this means, and if I am correct in this, and that is something that I would put forward for the discussion. Okay, modeling and simulation. The thing that modeling is our nature. We, as humans, model all the time. We model when we think, when we talk, when we discuss things, and when we communicate. All the time we use a model of the real world. So modeling is basically in our nature. Even our brain works with models of reality, of course, because it represents the reality into some organic matter. I always like to present the modeling theme with a picture. When I show you this, you think, what is this? Some will tell me that this is a forest, some will tell you this is trees, but everybody now creates a model of this picture. If I talk to you afterwards, you will tell me, oh, that was a nice forest. But the word forest is a model of this picture already. And this picture is already a model. It's 1024 by 768 bits of green and brown, and it represents some element of reality. This is modeling. And as archaeologists, we excel in modeling because we add time, the time dimension, to our models. If you find a piece of pottery, you immediately make a model of it. How did it get here? How was it used? What can we make of it? We model it all the time. And we model through time, and that is one of the main issues when you model. It's always wrong. A model is always wrong because it is a simplification of reality. And as such, here we come to the danger of modeling. Simulation, for that matter, simulation is the execution of a model through time. And that gives you already an idea of where I'm heading. Simulations aim to reproduce the real world processes, but since they run a model through time, they're always wrong. I'll come back to that later. First of all, to give you an illustration of what I mean, on top we have the modeling aspects and the simulations. From a past society, we create a model. We make an explicit model of this past society. We run it through simulations, and we can, in the end, compare these simulation results to what we find in our excavations. And basically, that is one of the ways that simulations are used in archaeology. I would also like to present you what I think is a very good example of a simulation. What you see here is a movie about Neanderthals. That's my specialty. And this filmmaker has made his model very, very explicit. That makes it also very vulnerable. And that's the good thing about modeling. When we see this movie, especially when you know something about Neanderthals, you will say, that red hair. Is that true? The way he stitches his clothing, is that something that is based on reality? We never found any clothing for Neanderthals. So he makes his model explicit and he simulates it through time. It's quite an interesting movie that details some of the theories that are made about Neanderthals. You could say it's scientifically based because you recognize some of these elements, but then again it's a popular movie. But it's a good example of an explicit model. Vulnerable, but this person had said, I think Neanderthals were like this. And now we can discuss, is this true, is it not? That's the good thing about modeling and the good thing about simulations. So what is my role in this? This is my research, HomininSpace. I make an explicit model of these Neanderthals, and while I'm building this model, I have to delve into all the assumptions underlying these ideas about Neanderthals. And I have to make them explicit because I'm going to run simulations on them. And when you do something in computers, you can say many things about them, but they do what you tell them to do. So if you want them to do something, you must tell it right. And you must make an explicit description of what you want the model to do. And that means you have to go through all these assumptions underlying Neanderthals and behavior of hominins in a landscape. That's the idea of HomininSpace. Just to give you a quick overview, I'm going to show you the results of a simulation. It can be a bit seizure-inducing because it's a long time scale that I'm simulating, and I'm going to present it in 1 minute, so it's going fast. What you're going to see is groups of Neanderthals moving through the landscape. I'm not so very 3D oriented, so it's a very simple image that you're going to see, but this is HomininSpace. These are groups of Neanderthals moving through the landscape. The landscape is changing. This is going to be a very cold period. We get the glaciers coming in. That means more land to go through, but it's getting colder. You see groups of Neanderthals becoming extinct. You see that they are trying to move to places where they should not move. And in the end, I can conclude something about my model. How does it represent reality when I compare it to the archaeology we have? Okay, simulation in archaeology. Just a quick run through. The thing is, we have to enforce clarity when you model. That's the main aim. We understand change through time. That's the simulation element. We infer behavior from the record that we have. We compare the results of simulations with the archaeology, and from that we think, Neanderthals did this, or the Romans must have done that. And we can provide, through simulations, data for our hypothesis. That is what we do in archaeology with simulations. A recent review has come to the conclusion that this method, modeling and simulation, has reached methodological maturity, quite nicely illustrated by this graph. This is, I counted the number of times that simulation is mentioned in the abstract, but not in the title. Mark Lake suggested this, and you can see a nice asymptotic graph illustrating that simulation as a tool has become more and more accepted in archaeology and in anthropology. This is the social sciences where I search for. Meaning that you don't mention simulation in your title, but you use it as a tool in your research. This is a work group in a recent congress where I was, and they introduced agent-based modeling, the simulation thing that I do. They use the tool NetLogo, which is a publicly available tool. Very simple tool, everybody can use it. I should not tell this, but it is designed to be used by children. But as archaeologists, we can perfectly use it to build simulations. And actually, they created this, in this work group, they created simulations in 2 hours. But archaeologists did that. I'm coming back to this point a little bit later on. Okay. Now I'm going to present you the results from a class which detailed very specialty class, master class from Marie Soresi, where we did this sofa thing, by the way, which was very illustrative. Archaeology of late Neanderthals, first modern humans. We presented new technology to the students that were interested in that. One of these new technologies was modeling and simulations. We exposed them about 2 hours to this, and in the end, one of the assessment things is that they have to write what they think of these methods that were presented to them. So they are going to talk about modeling and simulations. So I quote them. I anonymize this. And nobody's here, so all right. Useful new ways to approach the data. That's what I think of modeling and simulation, as long as the limitations are recognized. This one had the idea of simulations. But others, modeling can be a very helpful tool in problem solving. They see no problems. And if we continue, useful tool to test specific theories. These are students, master students, that have no background in computing whatsoever. Models can be a good additional method in studying the Paleolithic. And one of my favorites, the study of their demise, the Neanderthal demise, has critically improved with computer-based agent modeling. She could try to, well, maybe since knowing that I did this agent-based modeling, she could put this forward a little bit strongly, but this is her idea about the use and the usefulness of modeling and simulation as a tool. Okay, I come to my conclusion. I already gave it to you, but I will sum up what I think leads up to this. Creating a simulation is very easy because you can do it in 2 hours. Models are always wrong, so whatever you make, everybody already knows that it's wrong. So you can make whatever you want. It's always wrong, so no problem with that. The thing with simulations is there's always, when you compare with the archaeology, there's always a best one. If you think about this, whatever you make, there's always a best one. How crazy the idea is, there's always a batch matching simulation, which is a good thing and a bad thing, if you think about it. And the last part, validating a model, validating your simplification of reality, is an art. You can never scientifically prove, the correctness of your model, which is very dangerous already. Models are always wrong, but how good then is your model? How useful is it? And that is validation of a model. And the problem is, you have to have an artist to show you how valid it is. So, simulation is too easy. It's way too easy. Everybody can do it. Too easy. You saw this graph, this asymptote. There's a lot of usage of simulation in archaeology. So we need a lot of artists. And I'm not sure if all those artists are around. That's why I say it's too easy. It's not a toy. I'm not saying that games are easy, but I would like to compare simulation with a shovel. Very simple instrument, everybody can use it. If I explain to a layman out there, this is how you use a shovel, don't hurt your back, work with your knees, things like that. I don't expect them to be able to excavate, and that's the same with simulation. Simulations is very easy, it's a very simple tool, but I don't expect everybody to make an archaeological sound simulation and an interpretation of the modeling results. I wonder what you think about this. Is it too easy?